So yes, I look back at this season with a lot of positives. Listen, man, for my job, like pre and post, that March of 15-2 and 16-2 was one of the most fun times I've had on the network in 14 years. It was that cool.
It was a blast
positive guy
to watch, right? And, to see just the three of those guys figure it out. Because remember, prior to that, there was a lot of chatter about, does this work? Is it not going to work? These three guys don't look good together. And then it just eventually clicked. And my position on it was always, look, if JJ can convince LeBron, which he did, and I think JJ is another subject that we can get onto in a second, to be kind of that third guy, because he really can do everything well, right?
Yeah.
Like even at 41, he's still the guy that if you need him to defend for a few minutes against the best player, he's capable of doing it, right? We saw it in the Houston series. If you need him to spread the floor, he can do that. Obviously, he's as good a passer as we've ever seen in the history of the sport. And we know that he can bully his way into the paint. He is more malleable, I think, than the other two guys. And that's not saying that the other guys aren't malleable. It's just a credit to him, even at this stage of his career. And once they figured that out, and he was a willing participant to that, which, I think once the three of them got together, it didn't take that long if you really look at it. It was just a few games before they really turned the corner on that. They were rolling. And I did feel like you comfortable that outside of OKC and probably San Antonio, I'm like, they got a good shot against anybody. But to me, I just think that the way they beat Houston, okay, to me, I thought that is something to be proud of, considering the way the season went down. And now I look, as we spin it forward, I actually think that the three guys coming back is probably their best shot of being a contender next year.
You have to look at it as, what do you believe? Do you believe March was just a 1 month run? Or do you believe that they were getting time together in chemistry? I remember coming on this show, and I think we were at the All-Star break or just after, and their entire rotation had played 2 games together. I'm talking 8-9 guys. That to me was a wild stat, and they were still above the playoff line. One thing they have to get better at, because I'm with you, George. I think that the big three can work together Austin, LeBron, and Luka. But what you put around them is how you win now when you look at this league. Like, OKC is an anomaly. I mean, they're running Jared McCain, their 14th highest player, is hitting 10 threes in the series. A.J. Mitchell, who nobody knew out of UCSB, was averaging over 20 in the series. But then you have guys like Kason Wallace out there. I mean, all kinds of length, athleticism, and the Spurs are doing the same thing. Where the Lakers have struggled is they don't have that young talent through the draft. I think to win, you have to have that perfect storm, right? It's free agency, it's trade, it's draft. So you have to get younger somehow and athletic, because you got to throw bodies, because the playoffs are different. Like regular season, you can win 53 games. But come playoff time, you have to be able to throw waves of guys at each other. You have to be able to defend and switch and do all these things, and you have to be athletic. You don't need superstars. You already have that. So it's the pieces around that can win you a series, just like they did in Houston. No Luka Dončić, no Austin Reaves. They were up 3-0, George. 3-0, right? Guys were playing outside their roles. Luke Kennard. Marcus Smart was phenomenal in these playoffs. Yeah, he was off and on offensively, but if you watch what he did defensively with Shea, it was pretty special. Nobody else is doing that.
Yep.
Nobody else is doing that.
I agree. He looked like, I told Kendrick Perkins this earlier in the show, he looked like the 2023 Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart, defensively in that series.
And weren't you hoping that's what you would see, George, when they signed him? Like,
yeah, you were hoping, right?
That played a handful of games for 2 years. Like, can he reach back to that? Yeah. And JJ said this in March when they talked about Marcus Smart and the impact he was having. He was leading the team in plus minus. And JJ said something to me that I thought was very smart, and it kind of reminded me of how the Dodgers do their work. Like, he said, we did a deep dive on Marcus Smart. We looked analytically. We looked at tape, and we felt he could return to that. And they were right. He did.
The way I look at it, and you kind of nailed it, they need to the development process, right? Whether it's a two-way guy that competes. Remember a couple of years ago, when Denver won the championship, Miami had 7 guys who were in the G League, right? At one point or that they developed through the G League that were rotation guys for them, whether it was Duncan Robinson or Gabe Vincent, obviously, who had a stint here, right? Like they had Max Strus, who's still balling out for the Cleveland Cavs right now. They had all these guys. Your development program matters. And ideally, it's guys that you drafted, right? Whether it's Adou Thiero or Bronny, who I think I thought Bronny made real steps. If anything, I can make the case that Bronny, and I know people may look at this and think I'm crazy, of all the young developmental players the Lakers have, he's the furthest ahead right now. In regards,
that is the most amazing thing, yeah.
Right?
It's right.
I'm not
right.
crazy saying that.
It's actually wild when you think back to his first year. And when he went in early on against Philadelphia,
oh my God,
and all that stuff, and you look at him now, he played some real minutes, and I think he's got to get better, obviously, like handling the basketball in those pressure situations and making better passes. But you get him in the open court, and he's gotten so much better. He's a confident shooter, and obviously, you got to keep improving. But I'm with you. I think he's developed the most out of the young guys.
Right,
he really has.
So whether it's Bronny continuing to develop, Adou Thiero continuing to develop, who got thrusted into some minutes in this series, who's an athletic phenom, right? And they hope he can turn into a 3-and-D guy. We know his athleticism is there. If they can develop a Nick Smith Jr., who was a former first-round pick, right? That they have as a two-way player. And those kinds of guys need to contribute during the season to allow them to build the confidence, whether it's the 25th pick. If I'm them on the 25th pick, obviously you take best player available. If you don't trade the pick for maybe, more veteran help, I would take a guy that has played a lot of basketball, okay? And I think if you look at the college landscape now, Geeter, okay, people didn't like NIL. I actually think NIL has been the best thing for both college basketball and the NBA because kids are staying in college longer, which means they're being developed there longer, which means they arrive at the NBA level more prepared for what is going to be bestowed upon them once they arrive to the league. How do you feel about that?
And look at guys that have had success recently. You can even look at just the Lakers. Austin Reaves played all the way through college. A guy like Alex Caruso, who was a G League two-way type of player who came to the Lakers, played under Luke Walton. In that last 2 weeks, they gave him the ball and they said, do your thing, right? And the next thing you know, he's starting in a Game 6 against Miami when they won the championship in 2020. Right. I look at a guy like A.J. Mitchell, right? Like a guy who stays in college and gets it done. James Worthy and Robert Horry 100% agree with exactly what you just said, and we have been talking about it for years. So many times, guys come out so young, and developmentally, they're not ready to go, right? In terms of just handling media, handling pressure. That's why you don't see so many one-and-done guys like have a ton of success in March Madness. They've never been there before. I mean, sometimes they do. You get your Carmelos and guys like that. But a lot of times it's those junior, senior guards. Villanova was great with that, right? Under Jay. Like they
Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, right, et cetera, yeah.
The list goes on, and by the time they were juniors and seniors, they're winning championships. UConn's done a pretty good job of that as well. So, yeah, I agree with that. I've always been a guy that would like to see these young kids stay in college a little bit longer. I think that's why football has it wired, right? These guys have to stay for a certain amount of time. You mature more. You learn more about yourself. You get stronger. So when you enter the league, if you're a young guy and you enter the league, and you have high expectations and you don't hit those expectations right away, people label you a failure. You read your social media. You can deal with a lot of off the court stuff. But the more you stay in college under a Tom Izzo type of guy, I'll just throw that out. You're going to learn, man, how to play in this league, and you're going to learn more about yourself. So when you get there, you're better suited for the ups and downs because you will fail at first. I'm glad you brought up Adou. Like Adou is a guy they got to invest in. And they have to, and he's got to put in the work in the offseason. And he's got to get better because why can't he be a Lou Dort type? He's athletic.
Oh my God.
He's strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why can't he become a defensive guy that learns how to spot up shoot?